March 31st, 2025, for the ground at the Merriam City Hall for an unusual special City Council meeting, the third one of the month. No public comment today because it's the hearing, right?
Yeah, it's a
Just
public
the-
hearing.
yep.
So if you have a comment, you do it at the public hearing.
Cool, thank you. Chris, did you get my email about the type of zone this is?
I did. Yeah, we'll be addressing it tonight.
Okay, cool.
You'll get transferred.
All right. cool to see lots of people here. How did you all hear about this special meeting?
I work in the block where this is
Oh.
being talked about, yeah.
Cool. So Block's the developer,
Yeah.
if it goes forward?
I would like to keep my job.
Yep,
so, yeah.
that would always be good.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a notice.
Thank you guys for developing so many of the properties around here.
You want me to remove my new chairs? Right there, right there, will that work for you? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
No, right, small trash. Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, it's not your traditional, just straightforward deal. Yeah, yeah, well, that's why we do that term sheet. Or, all the rest is built. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I did. I think so. There were a couple of emails that didn't show up in one and not the other, maybe. I think you're, okay. Oh, great, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I've changed the password.
Central, Monday, March 31st, City Council meeting.
call tonight's special meeting to order. If able, please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Payne,
Here.
Councilmember Shabeta,
Here.
Councilmember Cosmeyer,
Here.
Councilmember Hans,
Here.
Councilmember Caldwell,
Here.
Councilmember Leahy,
Here.
Councilmember Ryder,
Here.
Councilmember Silvers,
Here.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, this evening, we're going to be discussing specifically a redevelopment project area, and that's the only comments that we'll take. But I'm going to open up the public hearing meeting this evening, and anyone in the audience that would like to come up to the podium and speak about that particular item, you're welcome to do so. So I'll open up the public hearing meeting, and oh, I'm sorry.
We're going to do the presentation.
Oh, excuse me, you're ready for the presentation first. Mine said public hearing first, but that's okay, go ahead. Please come forward, sir, thank you. Because I might have more questions, that makes sense, yes.
Yeah, let's go ahead and, close the public hearing and reopen it.
I will, on the advice of council, close the public hearing and ask our city administrator to come forward. Tell us a little bit about what we're gonna be talking about this evening, sir, thank you.
Mayor, happy to do so. Thank you, Mayor, Council, Chris Engel, City Administrator. I will be the one sharing with you tonight's agenda item. The agenda item for this evening. Next item to consider is approval of an ordinance making certain findings and to adopt the amended I-35 redevelopment district plan. Before I get started, I wanted to make sure that I introduce Tyler Ellsworth and Jacob Lowry with Kutek Rock. They are bond counsel. They are our partners in when we do items that have to do with the expansion of TIF areas or anything similar to that with economic development. So really, they've done a lot of the legal legwork on this. So we appreciate them being here. Anything that I can't answer, we've got a backstop over here so we can get you an answer. Unfortunately, Brian is at a conference, which is why you're seeing me this evening instead of him. But we're gonna get you the information that you need to make a good decision. By way of a little bit of background, if you'll remember in 2013, the City Council approved a Shawnee Mission Parkway corridor plan that had a public engagement piece to that, had stakeholder groups. It was funded by MARC with their Connected Corridor money, Planning Sustainable Places. At the conclusion of that, there were about 4, and that covered the area of the old Kmart site, the 2 blocks north, which would be on both sides of Slater, one of which we are talking about tonight, and the US Bank site. And it ended up with about 5 different scenarios that differed in levels of intensity of how that area could redevelop. Shortly after that point in time, we started having conversations about recreation facilities, and the library completed their master plan, and that started along about at this point, about an 8-year process of working with the library to get the library onto our site down there and potentially get that property up there ready for development. That relationship thus far culminated several months ago with the City Council purchasing the library properties. We've got 2 on the east side of Slater, 2 on the west side of Slater. The idea behind purchasing those properties was to make sure that we took a proactive role in developing. We did not want to see a vacant Kmart property that sat in our community for 10 years that we had no control over, nor do we want to see a half-developed Mission Gateway project in our community. So purchasing the library property puts us in the driver's seat, allows us to decide what we think is best amongst our residents, for our residents, and what do we not want to see, maybe just as importantly. As the owners of those properties, we now have the ability to do what staff calls make-ready work that prepares those properties for future development. Those things can take the form of environmental remediation, which we've already done some environmental studies, and then remediating because there's asbestos and all of those. Could be going as far as tearing those buildings down and or creating the ability to use some financial incentives to spur, if the council should choose to do so, some sort of future development there, which is what we're here for tonight. As you can see, here's our I-35 redevelopment district with the new area to be added. It's the red square. It's bordered on the east by Antioch, south Shawnee Mission Parkway, west IKEA Way, and on the north by 62nd Terrace. If the council chooses to approve this ordinance this evening, it is going to add Project Plan Area O, which is on both sides of Slater, so it would be the west block and then the new east block. Those would be connected. The only thing is that we would be carving out the Chipotle because that is already in a project plan. You can see that is Project Plan N right there in the middle of the O. So that comes along with the approval this evening. In your packet, there was a listing of acceptable uses for Project Plan O. I'd be happy to read it if anyone would like me to. Otherwise, I will move on. Okay. By state statute, there are two types of tax increment financing methodologies that we can ascribe to by state statute. First one is we can find the property blighted. Second one is we can call it a conservation area. We can't just call it, there's some metrics that we have to pass through to make sure that it's those two things. We actually have a blight study that covers the library properties from 2021, before Merriam Grand Station. There was a blight study that was done that found all of those properties blighted, but it's part of the Kmart project also. So at the time, well, I'm sorry, not the Kmart project, but the Kmart property, they included the library, the gas station, all of these relevant properties in that blight study. But a lot of the calculations are based on the square footages that actually include the Kmart. So it's not really relevant, but it's already been found blighted. So because it's already been found blighted, we decided to actually, let's try to go for the conservation area because we believe that we can do that too. The difference between the two is really blighted is what it says. Blighted is blighted. Conservation is you're sliding in the wrong direction and we want to try to keep that property from becoming blighted. So per state statute, there are two initial requirements for an area to qualify as a conservation area. The first one is the new area is less than 15% of the city's total area. And the second one is 50% of structures are older than 35 years. New area is less than 15% of the area. The new area is actually about less than 5 acres. The total city area is 2,700 acres, so it's less than 1%. The new area is 0.18%. The second requirement is that 50% of the structures are 35 years or older. As you can see, well, that's the full block. We've just outlined the structures in it that are over 35 years old. So the total building square footage of that whole block is 42,000 square foot with some change. The building square footage that's 35 years or older is 41,000 and some change. So the older than 35% is 98%. As you can see, those three buildings are all older. Caribou Coffee is the only one that's actually less than 35%. But again, we're talking about the full block there. We just put a border around the areas that are 35 or older. In addition, for a conservation area to qualify, it has to meet 2 of 7 factors. There's a total of 7 factors. You only have to meet 2 of them. We believe that this property actually, or this expansion area includes 4 of them. Those 4 are dilapidated, obsolescence, or deterioration of structures, presence of structures below minimum code standards, excessive vacancies, or inadequate utilities and infrastructure. So again, we only have to meet 2 of 7. We believe that it meets all 4 of these. So dilapidated, obsolescence, or deterioration of structures, you've got trash and debris, obsolete entrance, deterioration of the landing, more trash and debris. Multiple entrance points make it difficult to repurpose the building. On this next slide, also at 8700, you've got dilapidated fence, you've got holes in the exterior and deteriorating joints, parking and driveways unusable on that right picture. 6235 Slater Street, you've got exterior deterioration caused by water, also some dilapidated exterior siding. That wood is gonna, pretty strong wind here is gonna blow that section of that building away. And then the last one we have is also some deteriorated concrete foundation on the loading dock of 6235. So that's the first thing that we have that we believe would qualify. Second one is presence of structures below minimum code standards. City code officials inspected both of those library buildings. And in those library buildings found a variety of code deficiencies. A couple of them not ADA. There is a huge hole in the wall. There's unprotected wall penetrations, non-compliant ramp, steps, railings, all of those things make it not code compliant. The third factor is excessive vacancies. 2 of the 4 buildings in this area are vacant. That's 91% of the total building square footage in this area is vacant. And then finally, you've got inadequate utilities and infrastructure. We're doing an undergrounding project right now, and that's essentially to provide reliable power for other utilities, improve corridor appearance, and increase corridor safety, which the inverse of that would be inadequate utilities and infrastructure. That's the reason we're doing that project. So in summary, you've got a conservation area that meets the 2 initial requirements of area less than 15%, 50% of structures are older than 35 years, and then we believe that 4 of those, all 4 of those are factors of the total of 7 that we need to meet 2 of to make this qualified for a conservation area. I flew through that. That's a lot of information really fast. Do you have any questions? I'll ask for questions.
Questions, Mr. Eagle? Go ahead, Mr. Cosmo.
Yeah, no, thanks for that clarification on the difference between conservation area and blighted. Is there any difference in how a property is treated once it's in the TIF, depending on which of those 2 pathways it took to
I
get there?
don't believe there's any, it's just, that's
Okay.
that's the gateway to get in.
Okay.
It's gotta be one of those 2 things, either blighted or getting close.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Not really a question, but more of a comment. I think I pointed this out last time I talked to Brian, that the library, there's a lot of the square footage in there and is not paying property taxes already. So this won't change the property tax base for the vast majority of those projects, right?
You were absolutely correct. That's actually my next note, is just to say that staff recognizes and agrees that we don't, through our economic development decisions, we hate to make negative impacts on our taxing partners, school districts specifically, but also the county, the community college, Parks and Rec District, all of the libraries. Those things can all be impacted by economic development decisions that we make at the city. The vast majority of the properties in here are not paying property taxes. So the impact on those taxing partners will be minimal, because there's essentially not any property tax being paid on the majority of all of that. So yes, that is, you are correct. Let's see. In addition, well, nobody asked, this addition has no impact on the larger I-35 TIF, the timeline or anything else. It does not. IKEA still drives the I-35 redevelopment district. This is just simply changing the boundaries, which we did for Merriam Grand Station, if you recall, several years ago. So it's the same concept. Any other questions that you'd have for me?
No questions?
Okay, next steps. We're gonna conduct a public hearing. Mayor will open the public hearing. We'll hear from the public, their comments. The mayor will close the public hearing. I'm happy to come up here and answer any other questions. Again, we've got our partners with KUTEC to help us answer any questions that I can't answer. At the conclusion of that, we'll roll the votes. We would recommend we waive the first reading. The second thing would be consider approval of the ordinance. I put up here, it's 2/3 of the governing body. I am incorrect. That is just a simple majority of the governing body, so the mayor will not vote on the first vote, will vote on the second vote. The council approves. The planning commission is scheduled to review the new project plan area O on Wednesday night. And basically what they're gonna do is they're gonna look at the description of O that if you choose to go forward tonight, was approved tonight, and make sure that it complies with the comprehensive plan 2040. Make sure that we're not authorizing things to be in our city or in that area that aren't spelled out already in the comprehensive plan. Any questions about that? Before I turn it over to the mayor, I want to just remind the city council of our process. We met on February 24th, and the city council approved a resolution setting tonight as the public hearing. Per state statute, we posted public notice in the legal record as per statute, notifying the public of this meeting. We've pushed that out in all of our channels. In addition to reaching out in our official channels, all property owners within the existing and proposed I-35 redevelopment district have been notified, all of them, all the property owners have, as well as the county and the school district, which all of that is per statutory requirement. We've adhered to all of those things. And, that said, if there's no questions, I'll turn it over to the mayor to.
Unless, Chance, any questions, Mr. Reed? Okay.
Mayor, I'll be back.
So with that, I think now would be appropriate to open the public hearing, pardon me. Is anyone from the audience that would like to come forward to the podium and address what we're talking about this evening? Please come forward, sir, give your name and address for the record.
Ron, 6633 Wood Street. Staff mentioned tonight that Merriam taxpayers would bear the cost of asbestos remediation, and I wish that had been considered publicly before we paid full generous amounts of money to the county to take that liability off their hands. If there are so many code problems in the county's library building, why did our code enforcement not require that they maintain their building over the years, or at least before they sold it to us, and now it's our problem to fix it? If you approve project area O tonight, we will be entrusting more Merriam tax dollars to those who made that decision. TIF is corporate welfare, and generally that's not a great thing. We lost Hen House, if we all remember, when corporate welfare ran out in that lot, and they were not willing to pay the full cost of the building that they now owned. TIF takes money away from local parks and schools and causes school districts to raise their already high mill rates. So just generally, for doing more with TIF, not a big fan of that. I wish we could have the discipline to break this free of this cycle and finally let our TIF district expire. I heard Chris say a minute ago that this project won't cause an extension, but it is one more project which could get extended in the future. Things grow. We've seen them grow before. We've seen things get extended before. Seeing project area O developed into something productive may be great for our community for sure. I would like to see something better than a vacant building there. But one thing stuck out to me. Staff is asking to use a conservation area clause to establish this project area. And that is a first in my time at these meetings, hearing that phrase used in the TIF process. I've heard other reasons, but that's a first, and I'm just kind of curious why we couldn't use the mechanism that we've used before. If there's anything behind that or not, I'm not sure. I've watched the better part of a dozen project areas get approved over the years, and I've just never heard conservation area. So those are my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Mr. Cronin? Anyone else? Would anyone else like to come forward this time? Oh, yes, please come forward now. And again, for the record, please give your name and address for the record.
My name is Christina Wood. I live at, oh my gosh, 5662 North Marston. I actually work at the Caribou Coffee on the corner where this law is being talked about. So I'm kind of curious how this TIF expansion will affect the two existing buildings in this block. I've been reading a lot, trying to educate myself about the Shawnee Mission Corridor project. I've seen a lot of development in my time at Caribou Coffee just across the street. So I'm more just curious how this will affect the two businesses there as well as Caribou Coffee.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come forward this time? Yes, sir. Please come forward. Give your name and address for the record.
Dean Kinsey, 6006 Antioch Road, Merriam, Kansas. I appreciate the presentation I just heard from Chris. That's really great. My question is, he mentioned that it was both conservation or blight, and I'm kind of wondering what the difference between the two, as I remember back quite a ways back when things got started around here and things were getting taken by eminent domain and other things, that the word blight was used a lot. So I'm wondering if a recommendation is just being made to go with the conservation method, or if we are actually considering blight as well.
Thank you. I would just ask that any of you that have those questions, we probably won't be able to answer them completely this evening, but please reach out to staff. Would you like to answer them? Oh, okay. All right. Anybody else that would like to come forward this time? I see nobody coming forward this time. All right, well then I will close out the public meeting. And yes, we're going to have Mr. Engel come to the podium, and maybe he's going to answer those questions for us.
Absolutely have to. Conservation or blight, they're just two different routes that both get you to the same place. What would occur with a blight, if you were going the blight option, is you have to have a study. And so that requires a whole, if you will recall the blight study that we had on Kmart that included that was about a 60-page study. So it's a cost, you incur a cost, you would be looking at a Caribou and a Possibilities, the two businesses that I'll address in a second, that aren't really blighted, but they qualify age-wise, at least Possibilities does. So basically for expediency, and because we already have something that says those properties are blighted, we just went with the conservation option. We certainly could declare them blighted and go through the whole process. It would slow us down, and it's not required, because either path that you take, you end up at exactly the same place. You end up at eligibility. Yes, sir.
Do you recall how much we paid for the flight study? Yes.
I don't remember off the top of my head, so I don't want to try to remember. But I mean, it's a study. It's a full study that requires a lot of pieces to it that for this particular expansion, it's not required. We can get exactly where we need to go, assuming that that's where the council wants to go, going the conservation route. There's fundamentally no difference between the two. It's just, you've got blighted areas that are clearly blighted, and you have areas that are moving that direction that maybe don't qualify for the blight standard. I'm happy if there are any additional information on that. Okay. In terms of impact on the two existing businesses, if the council were to approve the ordinance tonight, there would be fundamentally no impact on those businesses from the action tonight. What including it in the TIF does is it makes it more attractive for development. So if we decide to go forward with the development at a future point in time, it's possible that someone would decide they want to buy all of those properties, or the city would partner with a developer and those properties would be purchased. But in terms of economic development being used for, or eminent domain to be used for economic development, we can't do that anymore. The laws have changed in the state of Kansas. We were a part of changing those laws, but that can no longer be done in the state of Kansas. I think that answered the questions I think I had.
Okay, I don't think.
Any other questions?
We have any other questions, Mr. Eagle? Okay, I see no other questions. Okay. So, I assume the next item then up would be council items. And in considering, or only council item this evening is to consider the approval of an ordinance making certain findings and adopt the amended district plan for the I-35 redevelopment district. And there's an interest in waiving of the first reading. I would entertain a motion for that. Okay, Ms. Shepherd.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council waive the customary first reading of an ordinance that makes certain findings and adopts the amended district plan for the I-35 redevelopment district and authorize the mayor to sign the effectuating ordinance.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Haynes.
I second that.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Shabeta.
Aye.
Councilmember Kozmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yagich.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, that was for waiving of the, the first, waiving the first amendment. I would entertain a motion for actually going forward with this.
I would be happy to make that
Okay,
motion.
Ms. Haynes, please go ahead.
I move that the council approve an ordinance that makes certain findings and adopts the amended district plan for the I-35 redevelopment district and authorize the mayor to sign the effectuating ordinance.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second? Ms. Shepherd.
Mr. Mayor, second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Kozmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye. Again, aye.
Councilmember Shabeta, excuse me.
Aye.
And Mayor Pape, you get to vote.
Aye.
Motion passes 9-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have anything else for the good of the council this evening, Mr. Eagle? We don't.
No, sir.
Well, nothing else before us this evening, I would entertain a motion. Ms. Haynes?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion, Ms. Savage.
Mr. Ray, second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, means adjourned.
I'm Megan Worth, I'm the new finance director. Yes, brand new.
Bringing her in,
Just wanted to meet you guys.
Yeah, hey, thank you. You think, yeah, you know, what happened tonight, it paves the way for development. So that means that it's an area of the city where can develop. It just gives the council a tool of how they can implement some economic development. So what they did in of itself is nothing to those businesses, other than some of the area that's pretty attractive.
Have a nice night.
You too.
No,
Okay.
that would have been one of my staff.
Oh, okay,
But yeah, I didn't know it was you, but yeah, he
Yeah,
told me.
that kind of sprung, I did a lot of research and digging and stuff. And I learned it's actually very so this was kind of like, oh, what's happening? So yeah, it's been something to talk about. I think it's a blog, could use some redevelopment. Maybe in some way, whatever. Yeah.
Thanks for doing the research, thanks for coming up and sharing your thoughts and questions, hopefully I answered them.
I've never been I know, I'll let you know that I used to work at Starbucks.
Yes.
Sure.
We were hoping for a little action. Well, I'm assuming.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I love character. It's one of the better.
We love their coffee, we serve it down at the community center, it's good stuff.
It's just Okay, awesome, well, thank you.
So the conservation area saves us the cost of the blight study, more or less. I mean,
It does,
amongst other things.
it also keeps us from saying that it's blighted if we don't really believe it's blighted.
Okay.
Yeah. Were you looking for me? Yeah, we've got several folks that are kind of hunting on the spot for the boat blocks, yeah, so, yeah, we're doing all of this to try to figure out how the best way we can work a deal with whoever our preferred.